Amazing. So welcome everyone. I'm so excited for this episode because I'm introducing you to such an amazing sister, guide, teacher that has guided me into my journey of authenticity. And this is Niki Coate. She is the founder of the Healing House at the Pachānanda Center in Cusco, Peru. And she's such an amazing soul. I'm so excited that you're here, Niki, because I can really put into words how amazing you have been in my journey, and you still are, even though we're not in the same city.
Thank you, Rukmani, and congratulations on launching this podcast. It's such an honor to be interviewed here, to be able to connect with you in this way. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yay, thank you too. So let's just start with a couple breaths just to be into the space. Let's take a deep inhale through the nose. Let's hold the breath for 3 counts. And exhale through the mouth. And again, deep inhale through the nose. Let's hold it at the top. And exhale through the mouth. Last time, deep inhale. Holding it at the very top. And exhale. So wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Of course. So for those of you that haven't really heard the second part of my story, this is where I really talk about how Niki has helped me so much in my journey. So just to start this amazing episode, when I was going through what I believe and feel it was the very peak of my awakening process, I was living with my partner in Cusco, Peru, and I was going through major trances. Honestly, like 3 times a day, twice a day, and it was very intense. And through that journey, I was able to just let myself be and let my process express itself and be raw in front of very dear people, because I was very scared of it. I was very scared of showing my process and the trances and everything. And it was Niki, the one that really held the space for me to just let myself be, honestly, let myself be. And I just want to touch upon this really quick because Niki, you have such a gift, with people. And I know this is the reason why you have all the centers in Cusco, and people come to you from this motherly energy, because I didn't know how to let that awakening process unfold until I met you, until I was part of the sacred dance initiation. And you were just there. I remember you holding my ankles one time where my body was doing a bunch of things and singing. And just at that moment, I was like, yes, sister, I found you, and you're here and you're seeing me and you're not judging, you're just holding space for me. So it was such a wonderful moment in my life. Honestly, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much.
I'm already crying.
Do you remember that moment?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So much moving inside of me, so much gratitude. And yeah, I just feel like being able to witness your process and just be there with you was so powerful. And over the years of doing this, being in this role, I've had the opportunity to witness so much in so many people. And lots of times people will be like, Niki, you give so much. You hold such great space, right? But how I honestly feel is that, like, a great honor every time I get to witness someone's story or their process. I feel like the person who receives most is me.
So beautiful. Yeah, it's such a gift. and I feel the same way. Holding space for people and seeing their transformation is such a gift, and it does give us so much, and at times we don't realize that. But yeah, there's no one day that goes by that I don't think about Cusco and how much you've done for me, honestly. It was, for me, those 6 months was like the dark night of the soul completely. And here you come, with all your light and the amazing people at the healing house. They are just like super gifted. And I was blown away, I was blown away because I was searching for a community. I was searching and I didn't realize I was searching for this community. I just kind of like received some messages when Derek and I were in Thailand, and it specifically, go to the healing house. Do not even search for anything else. I said, okay. And it just unfolded so beautifully, and was able to tune in with my gifts and be okay with my gifts, because I was so scared of them. But it's because of all of you, and because of, the main energy that came through was you, as you held the space, as a house also held its space through you. It was just so magical, so magical, honestly.
Thank you, Rukmani. That's exactly what you just shared is what I was thinking of, is that admiring you in that moment of arriving there, that you had received a clear message and that you were just going to follow it. This is something that I believe so much in, and maybe to sum up my whole life's work is to help people trust that voice, that I like to call it the heart's wisdom, or your inner knowing, your inner guidance, the heart's wisdom. And so just witnessing in you that you got that message through the heart's wisdom and you followed it, not knowing, how could you have known how it would unfold, right? That you weren't meant
Right.
to know how it would unfold. I often joke, if we knew how it was going to unfold, we wouldn't be brave enough to do it sometimes, right?
That's so true.
But you really followed that heart's wisdom, and look how it unfolded for you. And so I just want to like witness that with you and celebrate it, because that's what Healing House and Pachānanda are all about too, right? It's like gathering tools, all different styles of yoga or energy work or whatever it might be, to help you get centered in the heart, right? So that you can listen.
Yes.
One time I had a student say, is it always right? The heart's wisdom, is it always right? And I paused and I really thought about that, and my answer was yes, it's always right. It's always right. It's not always what our mind makes it up to be, right? Sometimes we make a whole story about what that's going to be like, but the heart's wisdom is always right.
Yeah.
And I think now more than ever is the time to really tune into it and trust it on a, to a next level, which is what we're talking about today with authenticity, right?
Yeah,
next
exactly.
Level heart wisdom.
And as you're saying, you're speaking about the heart, I'm drinking some cacao.
Ooh, so am I. Here.
Oh my gosh, cheers.
Cheers. Yeah,
how
little cacao
divine
helps.
Oh my gosh, so much. I love her.
Me too.
So much wisdom that comes through. So I'm very curious, how did Niki get to where she is? We all have a story, and I feel that it's so important to share our stories so people can see, because sometimes now, with social media, we're so good at hiding things. We see a picture, especially with pictures, we see a picture and it's like, okay, this person is so, so enlightened and their life is perfect and everything, but they don't see what has happened behind the scenes unless we share it, right? So what happened behind you? What was that? What was the turning points in your life where you're like, okay, I have to change something, or I have to go in a different direction in my life?
Yeah, that's such a big question. Let me see what stands out. The first thing that comes to mind, thanks for giving me the opportunity to share. Every time you share a story, something different comes through, right? Well, I grew up in a really kind of normal sort of life, middle class American family. My parents were school teachers. I grew up in the countryside in a magical forest. I think this is one of the biggest keys for me, because I was raised going to church. And I remember when I was a little girl going out by myself into the forest. And I remember one specific moment. I don't know how old I was, old enough to be by myself in the forest, but no one else is around there. So it would have been pretty young. And I remember going and sitting on a fallen log and just closing my eyes and breathing, like what 7-year-old does that? I don't know, probably quite a few nowadays. And feeling God. I remember feeling connected to the great all when I closed my eyes and connected to the forest around me. And in that moment, I understood what the different kind of religions were trying to teach us, going to church, like connecting to the Holy Spirit. I was like, oh, this is what they must be talking about. This is the Holy Spirit. But then the next thought was, and here I'm feeling it with such more magnitude, sitting all by myself in nature. And that was a really big piece of the puzzle for me.
7 years old. Wow.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but something young, like around in there.
Yeah. So how do you experience that? Can you explain what you felt was God and the Holy Spirit for you at that moment?
Yeah, I remember the thing that was most tangible was it felt like something filling me, like a great inhale, but beyond my inhale, like into all of my body and then the space around me, like something actually coming in and filling me up.
Wow.
That didn't have that somehow that filling me up didn't have like an end to it. Doesn't have an end to it. It goes beyond my physical body and the space around me, but it comes through. It's a feeling in my body as well. And so I remember trying to replicate that then again later when I was trying to connect, or when I would go to church and there would be a moment of prayer or something, and being like, okay, how did I do that in nature? And it was like a filling. It was a filling up.
Wow.
Yeah. An expansiveness. Wow.
Yeah. How did that change you?
Well, I felt like it was a direct experience of the great all. At that time, I didn't have that vocabulary. I would have said God then. That allowed me to start to think for myself, I think.
Wow.
To be like, I don't know how to explain it, but a direct experience that started to guide me through adolescence, really. I remember my best friend was my dog, and my dog, when I was 12, died. And with all love and respect for the people involved in the story, I remember I went to confirmation class then after, and my pastor at that time, big love for him, had the belief that animals don't go to heaven. And I was like, I don't believe that, And so having had this direct experience with being able to fill myself with what I would have called then the Holy Spirit or God, I knew that I could also resolve that question for myself. Like I didn't have to believe what somebody else was telling me or someone else's interpretation of what truth was. And that was fundamental.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I have the experience of myself growing up in a Catholic family. And it's so, well, with my consciousness right now, we see how conditioned it is. It's this way, it's not this way, you just go this route. And so for the younger version of yourself to have that awareness and be like, no, I don't really feel that's the truth. I'm just going to go with what I felt that really is my truth. It's such a big moment, a big expansive moment where the guidance just comes through and it's like, hey, everything is not the way that people make it to be.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
And thanks for giving me the opportunity to remember that. I usually don't go that far back in what my story is.
So how did that moment in the forest just change, through your teenage years? Because sometimes it could be very challenging, especially, again, coming from a family that goes to church a lot and stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, through my teenage years, I think I got kind of lost in being a teenager, and I would say I was pretty lost in being that kind of person not listening deeply to my own intuition. Really up into, hearing it, listening to it some, but not really trusting it until I got to be in my late 20s. So there's that period of like teenage, 20s, college, early professional moments. I remember after college, and I've had a blessed and beautiful life, lots of fun, all things. And I remember after college working, I majored in journalism, and I was working in a business to business publication where I had a cubicle and everything. And I remember sitting in the cubicle and being like, looking around and having this very strong sense that was not it. I remember thinking, this is not the end of, this is not where I'm meant to be, or really honestly feeling more than that, not where I'm meant to be, but that kind of version of that we accept so often in modern life of get a job, pay the bills, mediocre existence, live for the weekends or vacation, not really loving what we do, just kind of getting by. That whole model, I remember having a really strong reaction to that and saying, not only is this not for me, this is not for us. Like, this is not why we've come to planet Earth, this is not humans living their full potential. And so that was a really good experience to have, that also created some movement in me, much like the pastor saying dogs don't go to heaven, then being like, saying what doesn't resonate a lot of times really helps, right? So that was a kind of moment that began like my adult search, I think.
Wow. What an amazing experience. And we don't even realize at times, and we have those moments. I had the same things when I was working at a hotel in Las Vegas. I was a front desk agent, and literally just seeing people come and going and observing people. And I'm just like, really? Like, this doesn't feel like me. But it was such an easy money, it was such an easy money. Until I gave so much thanks for my depression, honestly, because one of the times where I tried to commit suicide, they took me, they said you can't work anymore because I miss work. But it was such a blessing, because I wasn't vibing with it anymore, and it was the moment of turning points in me to like go into a deeper search, like you. So that shows also, that like those moments of like challenging times can also show you a way if you actually listen. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So what happened afterwards?
Well, first I want to say here on that, and just give everybody who's listening a little pep talk about the challenges. The challenges are gateways, and without them, we wouldn't be where we're at, right? Or where we're going. So yay. Exactly. So after that, then here, getting really real. So most people who know me as an adult know me as this healing house, yoga teacher, Reiki master person. Well, then I moved from where I had that business job in writing to New Jersey to run a bar. Ooh, a bar. With my then partner. We did lots of live music, but it was a bar. It was a full-on bar, and that was our life for a while. And I always joked later that running the bar is really similar to running Healing House. It's just that we have different ways of interaction, just a lot of community, a lot of people seeking, people looking for presence with one another, people looking to heal, and being a bartender, you have such intimate exchanges with people because they let their guard down and they tell you things that they wouldn't tell anyone else. And it's very similar in Healing House. For some reason, people tell me their story. A lot of people over the years have said, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm crying. They'll start to cry. And it's like that. It's just like people come in and like you said, Rukmani, is that people feel that I'm holding that mother space for them and they can cry, And so I'm like, you're not the first person, go ahead and cry. And people just spill their guts. But it started with bartending when I started to realize that it was, people were comfortable telling me about themselves and talk about authenticity, telling me their their secrets, and their shadowy stuff. And so
Wow.
that was such a big training ground for me. I did that for 4
Yeah,
years.
for sure.
Um, and that led up to like my kind of spiritual awakening around like 26, 27, 28 is when I
Mm.
started to really get some psychic things happening, all
Mm.
under the pressure cooker of this bar life. Yeah.
Wow. I wow, that's so amazing because I never knew about that, about you and a
Oh.
bartender. And it's so funny how yes, like it was your training grounds and people already felt that energy from you, It's like, hey, I feel very confident to like tell you all these things and spill my beans, and here you are still holding space for me, not judging, and thank you. And it's a wonderful way of doing service for others without really having to do the service for others, And then people are just like, okay, thanks. Wow, amazing, amazing.
I'm just going to take this off because I feel like it's making noise. I don't know if you can hear them. They're clinking against there we go. The little flowers of life.
Oh, yay.
Yay. Yeah, it was it was the perfect conditions to get me to start to wake up to the next level. As we were talking about
Mm-hmm.
challenges, can often be these gateways. Well, it was a great
Mm-hmm.
challenging time for me. And because I started to get really psychically sensitive, I was overwhelmed with being psychically sensitive all of a sudden. I wouldn't have
Wow.
considered myself sensitive in that way before. I had no context for it. Like I'd practiced yoga a little bit here, but I didn't have a framework to understand any of it. And so under like, again, these challenging context of working lots of hours, pretty intense conditions, all sorts of personal things going on in my life, that allowed me to like honestly have a breakdown. We see it all the time, right? In the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
paths, it's breakdown, breakthrough. And so as
Yeah.
everything was breaking down, like my world around me was just kind of crumbling. And at the same time, beneath that crumbling reality, I was starting to have a new level of awareness. I was having like prophetic dreams. I was experiencing energy. The bar was in this old standalone pre-prohibition age building that had
Mm.
lots of energies going on, and I was really feeling these energies, like doors
Wow.
opening and closing and all sorts of stuff. So
Whoa.
I was totally overwhelmed
Yeah.
with becoming more sensitive to psychic energies and experiences at that time. And with no context, I was like, really felt like I needed to be locked up. I felt like I was unsafe. I felt like I was unsafe to
Mm.
myself. And it was really a dark night of the soul during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must have been so challenging, especially with so many people coming to the bar and talking to you and all these things, and then everything else is opening up and like, oh gosh, what is going on?
Yeah, it was very intense. It was exciting too,
Mm-hmm.
let's not be shy about that. I tend to crave intensity and excitement, and it was definitely
Mm-hmm.
intense and exciting and made me feel alive. So all of that was
Mm-hmm.
happening. Yeah.
So this is really awesome. I love that you said it made you feel alive.
Hmm.
So what was different from other experiences that you have had?
What was different? Like what was the aliveness?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what was the aliveness? Well, first of all, because of the intensity, I was really engaged with my experience. Like
Mm.
I didn't know what was going to happen next. I was really lucid and present. I was really
Mm.
present with it. So that level of presence, of being fully engaged, of like fully showing up for the experience, as opposed to kind of like numbing out and sitting back and like ignoring what's going on. I couldn't. It was impossible. It wasn't like I was doing some great thing. I was like overwhelmed with intensity, and that level of intensity showed me this level of presence that is what I was referring to as aliveness. It was like a total lucid experience.
Yeah.
And in that lucidity, deep connection, like deep connection with other people. You know?
Wow.
And also, you know, this theme that we've got for today of authenticity, of not hiding, like not being able to hide it.
Were you hiding many things before, like putting that amazing mask that we normally tend to do?
Yeah, I would say I was like a pro in being like upbeat, life of the party, happy person. And lots of times I was really happy, but the truth was I was unfulfilled.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was up to that point. I went into a big depression here with all of this, but before that, I wasn't. I was like just deeply unsatisfied and unfulfilled, you know? And so just covering that up with like being, you know, that happy kind of life of the party, like I said. And then as this intensity started to come, I couldn't resist the intensity. Like, so if I was going to cry, I was going to cry, right? There was no stopping that. Or if I was going to like be overwhelmed with whatever the sensations are, I was going to feel that. And I was talking to people about it too, not everyone, but I was so weirded out by all of it, like feeling energy in my hands or having this dream that then the thing happened the next day that I was sharing it with a couple of people that were close to me. And so, yeah.
I totally feel that. You know, I went through like something very similar, but I wasn't really talking to anyone. I was talking to my husband at the time, and I think he was trying to do his research and like, how can I help her? I don't even know what the Kundalini awakening means, but yeah, that sense of being present, you know, with all this amazing energy. And yeah, completely, it was almost like you were explaining as well my process, which I think like in this wave of authenticity that we go through, that is very similar with all of us. It's just, of course, the experiences can be very different, but that sensation, you know, it's like this big wave of emotions, and there's no way we can hide it. Like you were saying, like if I was going to cry, I was going to cry. There was no way to like, you know, like stop it or hide it. It was just like, this is who I am becoming, and I'm just going to let it be.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you're saying that, it also makes me think of another piece of it, which is that all of it that was happening was helping me feel again what I felt in the forest when I was a kid, you know, like helping, even though it was scary and I didn't have a mental or logical context for it, but like feeling a great connection and feeling like a level of excitement and fulfillment, being like, oh yeah, this there's more, like there's more than what we're all pretending there is. There's more to it, and like having evidence of it, right? So like the thing that I was feeling in the cubicle when I was working in that and being like, no, this can't be it. Then the overwhelming energies of this period of awakening, then being like, here it is. This is what you knew was under all of it. This is what you were like craving to tune into, you know, even though it was so destabilizing. And that's another thing, you know, we need to get destabilized sometimes in order to allow things to move. Otherwise we just control them into their little box, you know?
I find it so amazing that it took you back into the feeling of the forest, you know, the mother energy that you embody so well. It was just there all along, like guiding you through that process. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Thanks for the money.
So after that, is that kind of like the guiding points to go to Cusco, or how did you even arrive to Cusco?
Yeah. So that's what got the Cusco thing going. So here's where, as an adult, this inner voice started to become clear, because I got destabilized. I could no longer control so much about what was happening energetically with me, psychically. It didn't feel under my control. One of the big pieces there was a friend of mine referred me to his mom, who ended up being my Reiki teacher. And I always say, she says, "Hey, I keep getting you should do Reiki." And I didn't say, "What's that?" because I didn't know what it was. I said, "Is it going to help?" And she said, "I think so." So after the Reiki 1 initiation, all of a sudden, I mean, if any of you have done Reiki, you know that it's an immediate process. You do the attunement and then you're a Reiki practitioner. All of a sudden I had this context for working with energy. And now I was no longer disempowered by it, but I was empowered by it and saying, hey, this is all energy and I can work with this. So that was the big piece. But then this inner guidance started to come through. And I remember one thing it said clearly one day was, go south. And I was in New Jersey. There's a lot of south, I'm from Illinois originally. That's where the forest is, Illinois, and then San Francisco, and then New Jersey is kind of my route. And it said go south, and I knew that it was somewhere Spanish speaking. And I knew that it had something to do with the mysticism, the mystic traditions of the indigenous people of Central and South America. But I didn't know anything about them. I hadn't studied that or read a book or had been talking to anybody about it. It was like something that is happening in me has something to do with the magic that I perceive to exist still in those areas. Yeah, and then one thing led to another. A dear friend of mine who I hadn't talked to a long time said, "Hey, I'm going to South America. And do you want to go with?" And I was like, well, I have to finish some things here, but I'm going. Yeah. So we ended up going together. A cheap ticket to Lima from San Francisco was what the synchronicity was there. She wanted to see Machu Picchu. So that leads you to Cusco. And then the rest is history. I got there with no expectations. I knew that I was going to spend a couple years somewhere, I thought. Now June will be 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So I landed in Cusco and was in this, because honestly, again, I'm no hero here. I was totally lost. I couldn't see anything. I didn't know what the future held. Everything about my reality was shifting. And all I could hear, I was totally blind. All I could hear was this little voice in my heart that said, go south. And then from there, that little voice said some other little things.
Wow.
That led to Healing House, basically, like get a space to share Reiki and meditation. And so that led to, I had no vision for Healing House. If I had had the vision, I would have been too scared to execute it. So all it was here's the house, move in here. This space is for Reiki. And people just started to come.
Wow.
So that's why at the beginning I talked about the heart's wisdom, because it's such a part of my experience that since then, my main practice in life is getting centered, however you want to do that. It could be, for some people it's working out. So for some other people, it's going for a hike. For some people it's painting or dancing or whatever, but getting centered and asking myself specific, what do I need to know right now? Or if it's something to do with a certain decision. Like this morning, I had to tune in and check and see if I was going to send my son to go be with some other little kids, but he had a runny nose, all these things. That's how so I pause and I ask, and that's where I take all my decisions from. The answer was no. So he didn't go. He's staying home today. But Healing House was formed in that way, and everything that has unfolded since in my life has been a practice of following my heart's wisdom. And so that's the central teaching here at Healing House and Pachānanda, is just, how do you get in there? Okay, let's get in there together. How does it talk to you? And then having a community that says, yeah, you can trust it. Is it always right? Yes, it's always right. It's always right.
So important.
And being around other people like you, Rukmani, who have trusted it and have a story to tell about it. And yay, heart's wisdom. So that's how I got here.
Wow. The heart. Yes. I really, when you're talking about the heart wisdom, it was, to me, following it, it was like there was no other choice. It was this sense of knowing, like, you go this direction. And like you, I had no idea, when I left Las Vegas and I was like, I knew I was going to get a divorce. I was leaving everything that I had built with my community there. It was like, I need to get out and I need to go back to Asia. I don't know why, but okay. And then from there in the Philippines, I received that message, March 31st, 2019, being Machu Picchu. And it was so clear. I was like, okay. And I hadn't lived in Peru, and I moved out of the country when I was 16. But yeah, it's such an amazing tool to have. And I'm so grateful again. I will never be tired of saying that to you from that space and the wisdom from your heart, because it's so divine, honestly. It's so divine. There's something that give me a little of curiosity with you about Cusco, because I'm sure all of you that are listening to, the ones that have been in Cusco, have felt the energy there and how the land calls you for a particular purpose, whether you are aware of it or not. But were there any shifts with you as soon as you got there? Did you feel anything, or was the energy constantly just guiding you? What was something that was very powerful, being in Cusco from the very beginning until now, and if maybe there's a difference nowadays?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I mean, certainly 100%, I could talk for hours and hours about the energy here and all of the
Yeah.
different, all of the different stories around that, types of indigenous wisdom, new age philosophy, and so much says Cusco and this region of the Andes is an epicenter for the awakening of consciousness at this time. The whole planet is awakening, a whole new frequency is coming to the whole planet. And then there's some centers that are extremely powerful, and Cusco is one of them. I often joke, I had no idea about any of this. If this sounds far out to anybody listening, it would have sounded totally far out to me. I would have brushed it off. I didn't have the vocabulary. This was not my thing. I wasn't like some new age chick, But I can say that because of over the years, these 13 years, and all the experience that I've had in witnessing people come and have great and surprising and fast transformation. And then in myself, yeah, of course, like what are some things that I feel here? I felt kind of a speeding up between in terms of like creation and manifestation. So like in Cusco, people will talk about it independent of having a conversation. They just experience that you think something and you want it. And in Cusco, all of a sudden, it puts it in your path. Like the next day or later that day, someone walks into Healing House and they've got the answer to your question, all sorts of things. There's just so many things. I think back to that sacred dance training. I remember that first one with our friend Ralph. And I was like, universe, I was in the garden and I asked the universe to bring us a DJ for that, to make the set list. It was the first one. And then later that day, I was in the kitchen and our friend Ralph was there, and I didn't really know him yet. And I learned that he was a DJ. And I said, oh, you came so fast. He ended up being the DJ for the
yeah, he was amazing.
Training. He was amazing. Yeah. So things like that happen in Cusco, Yeah, there's definitely an emphasized energy here, in terms of like all of the mystical experiences that you might have elsewhere. Cusco kind of Cusco amplifies it. It amplifies your self-awareness. It amplifies healing. It amplifies psychic abilities. So yeah. So I always joke that I'm like in the light worker army, and this is where I'm stationed. Like, this is where Spirit put me. Because when I thought go south, by the way, when I was in New Jersey and I heard go south, I thought, yay, beach. I'm at 11,000 feet with a sweater on. I've got a little heater next to me right here. We're high up in the mountains, very far from the beach, but I love it. I'm in total service to this land. I'm in total service to what's happening here. And I'm a foreigner, but I don't feel like a foreigner at all. not even a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. My soul is at total home here in a very
Mm.
deep way, and in total service to the land herself, and
Yeah.
what she is holding space for humanity at this time.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. And wow, for sure. To me was definitely the moment of releasing so many things from my childhood from Lima. Because I remember the very first time, well, not the first time, because I had been to Cusco many times as a tourist, and again, I wasn't even aware of like the energetics and stuff. I was just like being this American tourist that is not even American, like feeling just like that, not even connecting. So out there. and and I remember when Derek and I got to Cusco, I put my feet on the ground at the airport, and my tongue started to move. I started to speak the Lai language. I was already getting into trances, and I was like, oh my gosh, don't tell me I'm about to get into a trance in this airport right now. Where's this guy? Because the guy was late to pick us up. I was like, oh no. And Derek is like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, just give me some space, But it was wild. It was so wild, but I'm so grateful, like, because there's a lot of things that happened in my childhood that, as a child, it was very traumatic. And so all that was coming out, all of that was coming out. Well, there was something very intense happening in my family here. I mean, not here because I'm in Kansas right now, but in Las Vegas, and I knew that she had called me to do that work on myself so I could be pretty much the pillar of light for my family, hold space for my family, for
Mm.
everything that was happening. And then of course, like, put in me or the healing house in my way to guide me into that process too. It was just like definitely an amazing experience. At times I don't even have words because it was so intense at that moment, yet there was so much light and so much wisdom and so much love. And it was like, wow, everything in once, everything in once. So amazing.
I love hearing that. I love that so much. I love that you're like, am I about to go in trance at the airport?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sometimes I like to call Cusco spiritual boot camp for people.
Yeah, for
However
sure.
long people have here, they're gonna get whatever they are ready for, in a
Mm-hmm.
level of healing and self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful design.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. It made me definitely be change the perspective I had of my country. It for sure
Mm.
did. And it tuned me in too much to my roots, which has started actually in Asia. Because the culture in Asia, and especially in the Philippines and Peru, is so similar that when I was there, I was like, wow, I feel like I am in Peru right now. And then that led
Mm.
me to Peru. And it's like, hey, here you are, back to your roots. Thanks.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah, it was. And it was also a moment of authenticity, like
Mm.
going back to me, going back to who I feel it's me rather than who people have told me how to be, so. And that's such an important thing, I believe, through all this awakening process of like, how do you define yourself? How do you find yourself? How do you let go of all these things? How do you show up, and also just being, because in our society, there's so much hiding, and just like you, I was so perfect with that mask, and of course I
Mhm.
had moments like you as well, where I was so happy but so unfulfilled inside, and I just got this moment where the mask was so much and my sister was like, no way, let's break that, and then boom,
Yeah.
all these things were happening. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Authenticity, I feel that is such a big topic, such a big topic. And again, with social media becoming so big, and now the way that we're connecting with one another, and I feel that a definition of ourselves has to like be changed, and a definition of community as well. And it's so important to continue to connect with one another, but finding yourself in a space where you feel safe to be, just like I felt safe to be with you in the healing house. I'm sure that a lot of people that cross your path, feel the same way, that they're looking for this safe space to be. And then here it is, here appears Pachānanda Center, the healing house, and Niki and all their amazing magicians there to help you through that. Because it's a journey, it's definitely a journey of how do you feel okay with being and being raw, not just who you expect others to how you expect others to see you, just you being you. How does that even feel for you, Niki? To be your authentic self, and how does that play a role with all your work that you do at the Pachānanda Center and Healing House?
I love that question. Rukmani already knows I'm really into this theme right now.
Yeah.
I would have always considered myself an authentic person, but then what happens as I go along is just new levels of truthfulness, new levels of self-awareness, and new levels of seeing myself. And again, that really goes to presence, right? Of getting really present and seeing and being, brave enough to see what's there. And the practice is moment to moment, really. It's like giving ourselves permission for what we felt and said and did and who we were yesterday might have a different take on it today. And that's actually authentic. Like today, even in how we dress ourselves or how we want to, express ourselves. Like today, I might feel quiet and introverted, and tomorrow I might be really extroverted and want to crack some jokes, or what I want to put on my body today. And I think that's a big thing, is allowing ourselves to just get present and honest with ourselves and how we feel moment to moment, because that's part of the fun of being a human, right? It's constantly changing. And of course, underneath all of it is who we really are, right? Our true divine and infinite essence, our soul level, our spiritual constant, the presence that we really are. But then why are we humans anyway? We're not just that. We're this very unique expression of the great all. And so one of the things is getting present and seeing what's there. For me, going back to your question, it's been a journey. It's a constant journey. It's another layer. And I feel like right now, thanks to this last challenging year of COVID and our economic crisis all over the world, but Peru has been really locked down in a major way. All of the things happening in the world with politics and race issues, all of those challenges for me personally have allowed me to go into another epic moment of self-healing. And therefore more self-awareness and more authenticity. So I'm in this great and exciting process. It's very similar to what I went through when I was back at the bar and starting to have all these psychic experiences. It's very similar. The difference is now I have a context for it. Then I had no context, no community, no real practices. Now I have more than a decade of practices, of community, of people who are on this path of awakening. And so it feels much different, but it's very similar in terms of I like to call these quantum evolutionary leaps. So I'm going through a quantum evolutionary leap right now that is bringing to the surface for me, a whole nother level of authenticity. I'm seeing myself just giving myself more permission to really act and be and dress and speak exactly as I want in that moment, as opposed to the subtle, it was subconscious, forcing myself to be or do a certain thing in a certain moment, even though it's not what my heart really wanted, right? So just another level of that. And I believe this is what's happening for all of us, not just people on the so-called spiritual path, all of us. I really believe that what's available to us now is a higher frequency of consciousness that is bringing great change through a lot of discomfort in many cases, you know, great new levels of self-awareness, great new levels of authenticity. Basically, I think that everyone on the planet is tuning in, even if it's just subconsciously, to be like, what is it that we've created together? Do we really want to, you know, go back to that idea of being in the cube and everyone being just living for the weekends? Do we really want that? Is this what we want? No, this is not what we want. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with working in a cube in an office job in any way. I'm saying, are you fulfilled?
Yeah.
How are you showing up to your day-to-day life? Do you love life? Do you love life? Whether you're working at the front desk in a hotel, or you're working in a business-to-business publication, or you're channeling light language, or teaching a yoga teacher training, that's not what matters. What matters is, how are you experiencing your life? And is fear holding you back? Is fear holding you back? Because that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the long answer to that question, but it's the theme that I'm most excited about right now, is another level of authenticity. Ooh, that's juicy. Where's it juicy? I like that.
Yes. Yeah. For sure. Wow, so deep. Thank you. Thank you for all of that. And I feel for me, for example, that this authenticity gives me a new level of loving life, you know. And so like it's just like that door opens up and I feel like, okay, I'm so in love with life, and not just with my life, but with what I see. You know, I see life completely different, and then I see little things in nature that speak and all this stuff, and then it makes me feel more magical and more alive, you know. And then it goes into like, wow, having this experience is so dope. Like, can you guys feel that? And then how do I share that? Because I mean, it's not that you and I are the only ones that are able to tune into that, you know, like we all have the ability to do so, but how can we also show others that way, you know? And you're doing that so amazingly, honestly. If I can put amazing in caps and beyond, and so many exclamation points and emojis, like at the Healing House and the Pachānanda Center, you know, like again, I can't be the only one. They actually felt that there with you and everybody there that is part of a team, but everybody else, and especially that is in Cusco and this amazing hub of energy. It's like people they go there are showing up for a particular purpose, and then you are there holding space for them and everybody else again, you know, because the team at the Healing House and Pachānanda Center are like just like divine, like literally divine angels. They're just there holding space for not the ones that just show up physically, but everybody else, all of us, because we are so connected. So I love that. I love that you're just being that portal and that channel through which those teachings come through, into whichever way they come through. You know, it could be through like yoga practice or meditation or Reiki and etc. But that guidance, you know, is there because of everything that you've lived, of what you're going through, you know, reaching this new level of authenticity. So we can actually stripe off that mask that we put for so many years, that we have been carrying through our lineages, you know, for how many lifetimes do we know, and just be the radiant beings that we came here to be. So it's amazing to actually know you, have had those experiences with you, that you helped me open up that little door inside of me to be authentic with myself and my process. And I'm so grateful, of course, and I'm so excited for what is to come with you, you know, because you're doing such an amazing job. Honestly, I can't even put it in other words. It's just like, whoa.
Thank you. You too, Rukmani. You too. And thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So, how can people find you? What are you doing? Is there anything that you're sharing with the world remotely, just so people that are listening to can tune into you, and perhaps like guide, you know, you can guide some others into their authenticity journey.
Thanks, Rukmani. Yeah, we're doing a lot of things online, so you can check out, Rukmani will share the links,
Mm-hmm.
pachanandacusco.com. We're doing Reiki trainings, yoga teacher trainings online, a program called Thrive. The next one's starting April 15th, so which will be right when this gets launched, an
Yeah.
online program combining all sorts of practices to help you be authentic and to find your most thriving version of
Yay.
life. Yay. Another thing we're doing is in person. The borders are open here right now. You have to have a COVID test to come in, but other than that, that's pretty
Amazing.
simple. And so with this authenticity, here we are at Pachananda, we're like, you know, more than halfway done with construction, but there's a building that's just a skeleton right now, that it's
Mm.
not in its full expression of ultimate beauty. There's a lot to do here yet, but the guidance came through and said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Invite people to
Mm-hmm.
come now. So my family and I are living here. We're opening up for people to come and do what's called soul time with us, which is to live here and do their own personal retreat, time in the temple. We have beautiful
Amazing.
hikes to waterfalls and ruins, and just to be here with us, And this big message
Mm.
of authenticity was saying, not only does it not have to be perfect, it's better if
Mm-hmm.
it's not. We talked about this the
Yes.
other day of like, if those of us who are in leadership roles in spiritual development, I feel like the more we can be real people,
Mm-hmm.
the more helpful it is to others. I
Yes.
remember thinking, I am not ready to do my yoga teacher training because I'm not this perfect yoga person that I see as my teacher, right? But that's can be kind of a false and harmful way to look at it, right? We're just humans. And so here
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, come live with me. There's toys in the dining hall. I have a 4-year-old son. You can, I'm showing up wholeheartedly for life and this path, and I'm a real human too. And so that's what Soul Time is about.
Yeah.
So anyway, check out some things online, doing distance healings and all these trainings, but then we're also having the in-person soul time, and we've got a festival coming up. It'll be our first retreat. It's called the Red Dragonfly Festival.
Amazing.
In person, May 11th, during the portal days on the 13 moon calendar. It'll be a co-creation. So everyone who gathers will be offering something, whether it's helping out in the kitchen or offering a ceremony. And so I'm really excited about
Mm-hmm.
that. It's on a sliding scale, so people can contribute what they like. And it's a fundraiser to help us get to start building here again. So
Amazing.
that's all the goodness that we have going on. So any support or
Yay.
sharing that, um, is super helpful, and so grateful for the opportunity to tell people about it, Rukmani.
Yeah, for sure. Is there a way people can connect with you directly to just, I don't know if they need any kind of like private sessions with you or just some kind of consultation before working with you?
Yeah, for sure. Anybody who's interested in the one-on-one healing sessions that I do or any of the trainings, if they message us just through the website, I'm happy to have a WhatsApp call or
Amazing.
communicate in whatever way anybody likes. I really like that, actually. If someone says, I'm
Yeah.
just wondering about this. So yeah, everybody who's interested in all these things can have a one-on-one, whether it's messages or a call. I love just kind of sharing with people about what they might experience, whether they decide to join or not. So yeah, for sure, just contacting through the website
Amazing.
or
Yeah,
through
yeah.
our Facebook and all that stuff. Yeah, anyway,
Cool.
it can get to me. Yeah.
Yay. Yes, I'll have the links too, so you can just give it a click and then you'll be like talking to Niki soon.
Yay. Yeah, I
We're
look
also
forward to hearing
actually,
from anyone.
yeah, we're also having a donation-based event on April 22nd. And all the
Yay.
donations are actually going to the Pachānanda Center too in Cusco, Peru, to help with the construction and everything else that is going on in there. And Niki will be part of it, of course, and myself and
Yay.
so many amazing brothers and sisters. So join us, why not? We're here to, again, redefine this community space and be here with one another and help support all of us and each other, through this awakening process and authenticity, because I feel that that's like really needed right now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I look forward to that Earth Day
Mhm.
event. I'm so excited.
Yes, Earth Day. So good, so good.
Yay.
Well, it was such a pleasure, Niki. Thank you. Honestly, thank you for being here. Thank you for everything that you have guided me with, because again, I don't have any words for you, all of you that are listening. I don't have any words. You just have to experience it. My experience with you, like every time is like completely divine. So I'm so grateful for your journey that led you to Cusco and that led me there, to meet up again, because we have had many connections before that, and
For
so good. So I'm very grateful that you were able to come here with me in the space to share our stories, to share your gifts with others, and for people to see you, just like as the human that you are, and just authentic. There's we still struggle, and that's the thing, we struggle, and then we get up, and then we continue going, and we're not just like this perfect, like enlightened beings that some people have in their minds that we are.
Yeah, beautifully
Yeah.
put, Rukmani. And biggest éxitos with this project. I'm so excited for it. I know it'll reach so many people and be so meaningful to so many. And so keep up the amazing, beautiful magic. And it's an honor to be a part of your journey too. I love you, sisters, so much. I'm so grateful.
I love you. Well, many kisses to you.
Many kisses. Bye.
Bye.
Love, big love from Cusco. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.